Today, well, first of all, we're going to start with our mission statement. I'm Chantel. I'm with Career and Internship Services. It's our job to engage you in the career planning process through self-assessment, understanding of what is available in the world of work so you can set goals and market yourself. And I know I'm reading this. We'll help connect you with employers to help you embark on a successful career path, whatever you determine that to be. And that is what we are here to do. How we do that is through different services like mycatcareers.com. Hopefully you are all on mycatcareers.com. If not, I highly, highly suggest you pick up a card, or there's an instruction sheet over there, a little more detail about how to get registered and how to search for jobs on mycatcareers. All kinds of stuff on there. Student employment, if you need to work part-time while you're going to school, if you need summer jobs, if you need a job just for the weekend. We have people calling all the time that I need help moving firewood today. So if you need a temporary job or just some quick cash, get on there. There's also internships available. So as you're working towards your career path, you want to try out some jobs, maybe you need the internship credit with your program. Internships are also listed on there, and then of course full-time employment. This is available to you as an alumni after you graduate forever. So remember your login and password. The rest of your we also offer career coaching and advising, and these career coaches are wonderful. They'll help you figure out, they'll do some resume critiques with you, mock interviewing, so that you're ready for things like on-campus interviews. You'll have your resume ready when for career fair, when we have our career fairs. Like I said, alumni employment also, we have a lot of employers that are looking for experienced workers as well. So once you graduate, if you change jobs, if something happens in the economy, we've had a lot of alumni recently getting back online and calling to get their logins and passwords and learn how to use mycatcareers. We offer fairs, workshops, presentations all the time. There's also another brochure. Forgive me for having to get up and down like this. All kinds of workshops on this brochure on the back. Obviously, we're towards the end of the semester. There's only a few left this semester, but we'll have a whole new one here in just another month or so. And then we have a library full of resources for you in our office. So please swing by. We're right over there in 177. There for you, and all of our services are free to you as well. This is our career model. The career coaches will work with you on this. Usually, generally, during your freshman year, you'll start with the self-assessment, figure out what motivates you, what are your interests, work that into the world of work. How does that fit into that world of work? What's going to be a good path for you? And then set goals. Working from that, setting some goals on where do I go from here, try some internships, maybe study abroad, try some summer jobs, that kind of thing, and then working finally. So you usually go from your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, really hit the job searching hard at that point, doing some on-campus interviews, and they'll help you figure out how to negotiate an offer.
My name is Nicole Warwood. I actually grew up in Livingston and graduated in, I'm not going to say the year, at MSU with a degree in finance and a minor in economics. Just because economics, you can take about 2 more courses and get your minor without having to do a bunch more courses. I started my banking career about 8.5 years ago with a local bank here in town, and I started as a teller. So I was fresh out of college and needed a job, and started as a teller. Kind of worked my way through about every position at the bank, and I'm now technically a commercial lender.
My name is John Michael. My company is Traders Guarantee. I went to school. I'm from Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Moved here about 12 years ago. Lived in Big Sky. Moved here from Chicago when my children have twins that are 4 years old, and we thought it'd be a good time to try Big Sky or Montana, get out of this big city. We still have partners back in Chicago, so I get the best of both worlds between Chicago and Big Sky. Traders Guarantee is a import solutions company. When you import water from France, you've got to get it to the United States. And our products facilitate that process. Number one, freight forwarding. You need to ship the water from France to the United States. That's freight forwarding. Number two, you want to insure it while it's being shipped from France, and that's called marine insurance. When you get to the United States, you have to clear it through customs. And you clear it through customs with two pieces of paper. It's electronic really these days, but you have an entry documentation that describes the water, the value, and the duty on it. And then you have a customs bond, which guarantees that the government's going to get paid the duty on water. Because they say, get your water and go through the line, because we've got a million boats behind you, and they all want to get in. So you pay that duty 10 days later. But in the meantime, customs has that bond, which is a guarantee that they're going to get paid. So those are the products that we provide to facilitate trade. And Trade Risk Guarantee is located in Bozeman. We have two offices. We have one on Main Street. We have one on Lincoln Street. We have 40-something people in our organization. A lot of people remotely work for us too, in Minneapolis, Chicago, Orlando, etc., as part of our staff. And we have hired probably a good 25 people, students from NSU, over the last couple of years as we've expanded. That's my intro.
Brianne?
Yes?
Go ahead. Can you?
I'm Brianne Simplot. I am actually a recruiter for the Zaire Simplot company. So I recruit and hire all of our interns across the company, and then do some of our kind of specialty technical recruiting positions. And then I've been with the company for about 7 years now. I was actually an intern myself, and I've done some internal auditing within the company, as well as been on our organizational development team. So most of this conversation, the questions could be deflected to Josh, but anything about the company in general or positions within the company, I'd be happy to help answer.
Josh?
Anything else you guys want to know?
We'll ask a lot of questions later.
Okay, we're having a hard time kind of hearing you, so let us know if there's anything we're not quite answering.
Okay, you're doing great.
I'll hand it off to Josh now.
Okay.
My name is Josh Kruba. I graduated from the University of Idaho with degrees in accounting and finance. Currently, I'm a financial accountant. I started with the company in sort of more of a corporate finance role in our agribusiness division. And now I'm in my current position.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, I'm Mike Altringer, and I'm over here in Spokane, Washington, and I've been in the investment business for 27 years. I graduated in '83, and I'm originally from Dickinson, North Dakota, and I graduated in management and marketing. I was originally going to go to law school, and I paid to take my LSAT, and then I got a job teaching skiing down in Colorado, and so I sort of blew that off for a couple of years, and after teaching a fair number of attorneys, I decided I didn't want to be an attorney, so I got into the investment world, started with E.F. Hutton back in 1985, and have sort of evolved into doing about half of what I do is institutional fixed income sales, so I sell bonds to like banks, insurance companies, and money managers and such, city and county governments, and then I still have a retail book of business. So that's sort of it in a nutshell.
I guess we can open it up to questions, you guys. We have about 20, maybe 15, 20 people here. And if you can't hear their questions, I'll repeat them for you. Okay, I'll start it off. How did, we'll just go through everybody. What did you do right out of college? Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I moved to Vail, Colorado, and I taught skiing for a couple of years. I guess after a couple of years, you get tired of starving to death, and you decide it's time for a real job. So I retired from that career and then moved on into what I'm doing.
How'd you get started in? I mean, how'd you know that that's where you wanted to go?
Well, I really didn't. I had a degree in management and marketing, and I applied at some banks and some brokerage firms. And at the time, it's pretty tough. The brokerage firms typically are looking for somebody with sales experience and somebody with a little bit of gray hair. and I interviewed with all the major firms in Spokane, and fortunately the guy who hired me happened to be from Montana. He happened to be a Sigma Nu, he happened to be a skier, and he gave me a shot, and I got lucky here getting into the business as young as I was, and you know, sort of been forever indebted to him. So.
Okay. Josh? How'd you
Well,
break
I'm
into it?
actually a fairly recent graduate. I graduated in May, and I was able to get this financial accounting position mostly because of my experience as an intern with Simplot. I interned for 3 months last summer, like I said, more in a corporate finance role, and thought that if I had an opportunity to become a financial accountant, they had a couple openings, and I mean, finance and accounting they're pretty similar in the corporate sense, not as much the investment sense, but I had a good opportunity here, so I took the more accounting side of things, and that's where I am now.
Brianne, do you want to tell us how you got started in your field?
Well, kind of along the same lines as Josh's, I've actually worked for Simplot since I graduated high school, and I have worked for the company on and off anytime I could in between my college career, and fell into a number of roles. So even though I'm in human resources, the best piece of advice I could offer the students sitting in that room is take the opportunities that are available to you. Sometimes they may not be your number one choice at the time, but sometimes just being able to surprise yourself with new opportunities, stretching your limits of what you're able to do, and then just the networking piece that comes along with it can really help create that transition into that full-time role that you may be wanting down the line.
Tom, go ahead. Tom, go ahead.
Well, originally I started out wanting to be an accounting major, and I went to school at Northern Illinois University in the suburbs of Chicago, and went to take the accounting entrance exam and failed it twice. So I fell back on some other option, and I said, well, finance is kind of close to accounting, so that's what I ended up opting for. And as I'm taking my classes in finance in my major, I'm thinking, oh, maybe corporate finance, or maybe the Board of Trade in Chicago as a trader. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But in my senior year, as I was getting close to graduating, Motorola came to our finance club and talked. And they said, whatever you guys do, think global. You'll have opportunities in the global international trade arena for many years to come. It's still expanding, it's still growing, and there's tons of opportunity there. So that was about 2 months before graduation. At graduation time, I'm looking at the wall and see what kind of job postings are up there. And there's a job for international insurance. So I think, whoa, international. That's what Motorola said. It clicked for me. And I had taken an insurance course in my finance major, so I have a little background there. Interviewed for the job. It was a small company, 75 people out of Schaumburg, Illinois, but a niche. In the niche of this international trade, in the niche of insurance, was really a beautiful thing for me, because it took me off of Main Street and put us as specialists in that trade with this international insurance company. It gave me a specialist stamp early in my career. I started out in underwriting, put together claims programs for this insurance company, traveled to all major port cities doing audits, which was fun for somebody in their 20s. We traveled to Boston, and New York, and Miami, and LA, and San Francisco, all that good stuff, and learned that business. And then after I learned that business, saw ways to improve it, because it was done primarily through a middleman. And then there was a middleman markup with middlemen. And I removed the middleman markup and went direct to the importer with our import solutions products. And that really differentiated me even still more in the niche of international trade solutions that I work within.
Well, after college, I actually worked for the MSU athletic department, just until I could figure out what I wanted to do, because when I was in college, I thought I wanted to go the investment route. And the College of Business actually has an internship program through D.A. Davidson. And I went through that internship program and decided I hated investments and did not want to do it. So I was working for the athletic department and made connections with several actually bankers in town, and just called them and said, do you have a position for me? And I started as a teller a couple of weeks later, and I was a teller for about 2 to 3 months before I got moved to the loan side. So networking is definitely important. You never know, even in your job today, who you're going to meet. That same guy that I called 9.5 years ago, I have worked for my entire stint. So I followed him from bank to bank. It's a nice part about banking is it's very versatile. You can work for any bank. So I followed him, and he has since left to join the real estate world. But very good connection for me to make when I was a sophomore in college. So you just never know who you can call later and just ask what they have for you.
Questions yet? I have kind of a dumb question. What's simple?
Can you tell us more about JR Simplot, Brianne? What do you guys do?
So we are a privately held food and agribusiness company. We employ over 10,000 people internationally, so we've got plants and locations all over the U.S., basically anywhere from they kind of say Fresno to Fargo, but with acquisitions, we're even kind of expanding past that. We also have locations. We're very big in Australia, New Zealand, China, India, Mexico, Canada. So quite a few locations. And our company is kind of broken up into 4 different business groups. So we have an agribusiness side, a food group side, and a land and livestock side, and then there's our international operations. So basically, we do everything kind of from farm to fork. We have our own mining operations, turn that phosphate onto our own fertilizer. Our fertilizer kind of goes onto the farms. We process that food in our own plants, kind of a circle of life type of thing, if you will. We also have a plant sciences division that's working with some biotechnology and licensing of that. So, I mean, as far as the finance and accounting realm in our company, it's huge. It's one of our biggest kind of functional groups within the company. We have corporate accounting and finance, as well as each business group has their own finance and accounting functions as well. So there's a lot of different positions and a lot of room for lateral and vertical movement within the company.
Thank you.
Your question? Okay.
This is kind of just open for anyone. Is there any coursework or classes you guys would recommend that would be kind of applicable to, I guess, all these fields, something that you would find useful for any career in some type of financial services? Or is there anything you wish you'd taken back when you were a senior and junior that would have helped?
I was on a plane a couple weeks ago and looked at the magazine, United Airplane, and it was talking about international business courses and programs you could take at Oregon and some of the universities in Washington as well. And they didn't have that type of thing when I was around. And if you have any sort of desire to get involved with international business, those are type of programs to look at. If it's your MBA, you're doing your bachelor's here, you move on to an MBA. I think that's a great thing to focus on.
I would say accounting. I wish I had taken it a little more seriously because I think finance and accounting are so closely related. The biggest difference I see in my job is I'm looking for cash flow, and to pull that out of a tax return, they're looking at ways to minimize their cash flow. So you have to find ways to read kind of that tax return or that financial statement in order to find where the cash flow is coming from. We have some customers with extremely complicated tax returns where they have investments in other companies, investments in subsidiaries, international business. I wish I'd taken accounting above and beyond what's required for your degree, just simply for the fact that 90% of my job is analyzing that and being accurate with that, and if I can't read the tax return, it takes me a lot longer.
The question was, is there any courses that you wish you would have taken in college or that you would recommend for students to take now to set them apart?
This is Mike Altringer, but I wish my English skills were stronger, particularly writing, public speaking. They'd be a great advantage here. So.
Communication in general?
Yeah.
This is Brianne. I agree with Mike, not necessarily for myself, but just the candidates I see coming through. Written and verbal communication is huge right now, especially at our company, and allowing you to kind of get that first step in the door, how you present yourself, even just your resume and answering application questions. Being able to have that knowledge of proper grammar is very important. And then not necessarily classes, but what we look for too is just kind of those soft skills, so paying attention in classes and learning how to work in team environments and kind of things along those lines. But Josh, are there any classes that you wish?
I do agree on the English side of things. I do think that is a very good skill to have. I also think that I also wish I would have taken more classes having to do with sort of the operation management side of things. That really helps you when you get down into the retail section of our company, understanding the operations and understanding how the fertilizer is made, for example, and that can help you out when you're doing some of the acquisitions and looking to deploy some fixed assets at some places that need some help. So that's something I really wish I would have learned more of.
Any other questions? People comment when we got time?
Could I comment on that one too? You know, when I see resumes come through my desk, candidates looking for a job, oftentimes, not always, but sometimes I see the typos on them, and right away it's a turn-off getting to the English element of your career path. So always take the extra time to focus on that, because it can take you right out of a job position or possibility. And in addition to that, the communication element, I took extra communication classes in college because I knew that wasn't my strength. Even today, many of our staff have been Toastmasters in speech, public speaking. And that's a fantastic thing for you to take. When I was in Toastmasters, there were a lot of college kids that were taking that too at the same time. Now what we've done at our company is once a month we have a lunch, and we have a society meeting, we call it, and it implements the principles of Toastmasters. So everybody gets up and does an icebreaker, or talks about, you know, you do hands-on role-playing on a particular topic in our organization. Very good points that were made there.
I have a question that is twofold. From college experience, what is the single thing that you think that a student can gain that is very valuable to your hiring? The second part is, what is the single example that your company provides to compete for the best talent?
I'll take a stab at it. Number one characteristic of your twofold question is be focused. Have your goals in order, because that 4 years flies by, and every day is important to you. So try to, you know, you're a freshman, you don't know what the heck you want to get involved with, but as that time travels, you really want to narrow it down, and it's difficult to do, but but try to get a feel for what interests you and stay focused on that. The second part of the question, again, was if you...
What would be an example or an instance of the thing that you do to compete for the best talent?
You know, we interview 2 or 3 times, and we first you'll interview with the department manager, then you'll sit down with the department manager and me, and then you might have a 3rd interview with the department manager, and or on-site watching what these people are doing in their job, where you can interact and ask questions along the way. So you get a good feel for what we're doing, and we have a good feel afterwards. We ask you what you felt about that. And that's a good insight for us, insight for you, that a practice that we use all over and over in our hiring.
I would say kind of the biggest characteristic that you can learn through college is just to learn how to learn. It's not going to be necessary that you're going to be able to spit out facts when you get out. Nobody's going to look at your GPA, or nobody I've encountered looks at your GPA solely as the reason for hiring you. What college gives you is that ability to learn. So he mentioned asking questions. Ask a lot of questions. Find out why you're doing what you do. Why. It's just really important that you learn how to be able to take a situation and problem solve on your own without having to depend on other people. For me especially, when going into a situation where I don't know how to do it, I need to be able to ask questions to figure it out, but I also need to take the time to learn how to problem solve myself. So I think in college it's important that you do ask a lot of questions, that you don't just attend classes, take the test and get out. You learn how to learn from your professors and from those people around you. The single characteristic I think that we look for the most is it's tough. The resume is an important one because a lot of times you're not going to get even called back for an interview if your resume isn't strong. And by a strong resume, I don't necessarily mean a lot of experience. It needs to be well put together, concise, because we get a stack. And you need to realize there needs to be something to set you apart in that stack. And that resume needs to be concise. And then when you get to the interview, the thing I see the most right now is a lack of professionalism. So show up overdressed. Show up 10 minutes early. Have your resume ready. Even if you submitted it previously, have it ready and know it inside and out. Just seems like the generation coming in right now, we see a lot of people showing up in jeans and a t-shirt, or in a button-down, but in jeans and tennis shoes, or it's important. Your first impression is the only chance you're going to get to make a first impression. So it's really important that when you submit a resume and put a cover letter on it, maybe give a call back to see where your resume's at. It shows you're interested, and it shows you're willing to go kind of the extra mile. And then when you do show up, set yourself apart even more by being professional. And I just think you need to go over and above. Even if you show up in a suit and tie and you feel ridiculous because nobody in Bozeman wears a suit and tie anymore, it's important because what it shows is that you're willing to go the extra step and that you actually want the job.
And with the extra step she's talking about too, another good extra step that I like to see when people are interviewing is that they've been to my website and they know what we do. It's not like, okay, I'll see if I can get this interview and just show up and wing it. Do your research, because if you do your research, we take you much more seriously. It impresses me every time. And it's not that difficult of an extra step to take.
And ask questions. I mean, it should be an open conversation. Ask questions about your employer or your potential employer. I think it's really important that you look like you're active and involved.
I don't know if you guys heard the question on the phone. Basically, what is the single most important thing you would look for in a candidate? And then what do they have to offer?
What would be the differentiator on the company side to compete for the best talent?
Okay, so like
incentive.
Yeah, why would you want to work for any one of these people? Is that right?
What's the last part of that question?
What sets you apart as an employer to the applicant? What makes you special that they should want to come up work for you?
Well, if it were me looking for somebody to hire here, I'd want to find somebody who's been successful in other endeavors, other jobs, maybe sports. They've been involved in committees, philanthropic issues, and they've been successful in maybe raising money for groups. I guess that's what I would look at as a track record. And I guess what would set me apart from, why would somebody want to work for me would be the opportunity to inherit a pretty good business, be able to be successful, be able to make a lot of money here, and enjoy what you do and work with a great group of clients.
What I kind of heard some of what Nicole was saying, and the parts I heard I definitely agree with. What we look for here at Simplot, especially what I look for on a daily basis when I'm reviewing resumes and in interviews, is kind of that attention to detail. And that kind of spans across from the minute you send in your resume, that attention to detail of the format, following the instructions outlined in the job description, making sure that your grammar is correct, as well as in the application questions. Don't overlook that or answer those kind of in a couple of minutes. You spend just as much time on your application questions as your resume. As well as, through the interview, I kind of heard what Nicole was saying with the professionalism, extending your hand, saying hello, and then definitely sending thank you notes after the interview is very important. I think not very many candidates do that these days, and handwritten or email format is just fine. And ways to do that and to remember to do that is make sure you have a pen and paper with you when you come to an interview, and ask everybody in the interview what their names are and titles, and that's an easy way to just kind of remind yourself to send thank you notes afterwards. What I think sets Simplot apart from other employers is the culture of our company. We're privately held, family owned, and I think the culture here is very family oriented, team oriented. We're pretty flexible with schedules, and realize there's a pretty good work-life balance aspect with the company, and just kind of a different atmosphere, because we don't have to report quarterly like a lot of the publicly traded companies do. We've got a little bit more ease with that, and it's a pretty exciting time to be in agriculture right now, just because trying to feed the growing population. So there's a lot of room for growth and innovation and new technology within the industry. So I think that's kind of what sets us apart for a lot of other companies.
Did you guys want to address the question about what
Sure.
makes your company special?
Sure. Banks are kind of unusual right now because it's a really heavily regulated industry. The best part about, I work for American Bank here in town. It's a Montana-based bank, so we only have branches in Montana, but our lending area extends throughout